I remember that night I got off stage and I went to my room, and I remember being like, I don't want to go down there. I don't want to see anybody. And I was just shaking and going through like this anxiety because I didn't know you guys, and I thought you guys were judging me and looking at me wrong.
You've been judged enough already to be in that.
I know, but I'm telling you, my anxiety was just on such a high that, and I remember AZ even fighting with me. He's like, they're my friends. You got to go down there. I'm like, why do you do this to me?
Raul
and Vivian Velasquez.
Welcome to the God, Money, and Sex Podcast. Welcome to the God, Money, and Sex Podcast. My name is Raul Velasquez. I'm here with my beautiful co-host,
Vivian Velasquez. So excited to be here with you today. New York City.
New York City, baby. So today we have two of our favorite people in the world. We have AZ Araujo and Carla Araujo.
Hold on. Hi, I was like, where are the cameras?
Right there.
I know. So you see me all crazy. I'm like,
she's looking behind her. Like,
I am.
What am I looking at?
You should see it right now. I was like, what's going on?
What's going on, man? Thanks, NYC. Thanks for the invite here.
Welcome to New York, baby. Welcome to New York.
Dude, you're doing
Arizona.
it big. We're on the 70th floor of this beautiful building overlooking the water.
Shout out to Sky Building. Sky Building is one of the most beautiful buildings in New York City. We have celebrities in here. I think there's a couple of actors right behind us in the next door. So if you want to check out a place to live in New York City, you got to come into Sky Building.
Yes,
so
sir.
That's the plug, man. But
and we're here, so
we're gonna go knocking door to door.
And it's one of the things that when you came into this is the penthouse, right?
Yes.
Like, you could rent this for $7,500. Tell us, what can you get in Arizona for $7,500?
You can
because you're in the real estate world.
You get a lot for $7,500.
You get a whole lot more than this, but you cannot get the view.
You get 3 bathrooms.
No,
it's the view. It's New York City. Location.
It's the view. It's a view.
Yeah.
So like you and I will go way back.
Yes.
Go way back, and we're talking about when you were telling me that you're coming to New York City. We said it's almost to the date.
Yeah.
The time that I put the first event in Las Vegas 5 years ago, and I don't know if I ever told you the story, but it was like a hunch. Like I had to put an event together. I didn't know what I was going to talk about. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I had this feeling of putting something together. And I called you and 60 other people, and I said, "What are we going to do?" I said, "It's going to be awesome. Just trust me." I had no idea what I was going to do. I said, "Just trust me. It's going to be awesome. Give me your credit card."
Well, I remember.
Let's book it, and then.
I remember that you called me the first time. I'm like, no, it's too close to Christmas. And then you called me a couple days before the actual event. And I was still, I already decided I wasn't going to come, but there was something within your voice that you said, hey, you got to just be here. And I said, hey, I'm going to go. And who does that, right? Only a couple of weeks before Christmas.
Exactly. Who does that?
Who puts out an event 2 weeks?
60 people. Here's what the reality, and I've said this before. I was looking to fail.
Yeah.
I was looking to fail. I was looking to sabotage my event because I wanted to say I try. I try and I fail. That's what I picked 2 weeks before Christmas.
Yes.
That's what I picked, like, without preparation. I picked the most expensive hotel in Las Vegas, the Wynn.
Yes.
Just to kind of give me a little bit of confidence, because I didn't have the confidence back then. I was just kind of creating what the next level is now, but I had no idea. So I was setting up myself to fail because I said, okay, at least I tried.
Were you setting it up? What do you mean?
Subconsciously.
Subconsciously.
Now looking back now, looking back now and saying, okay, why did that happen? Is because subconsciously I was looking for people to say no.
Yeah.
I was looking for people to say no, and then at least I try.
But 60 people showed.
But 60 people showed.
And that's kind of like the feelings we had at when we put your event on. Yeah, she just threw a women's event here last month, and same thing. I think a part of us does want to fail, so we can check that off and say, hey, at least I tried. But then when you start asking people and they say yes, it's like, okay, maybe there is something here.
There's something, right?
Yeah,
there's something that people see.
Yeah.
So when Vivian and I put that event together, and I remember the second day, what we talked about the second day. After the first day, after 60 people showed up to the Wynn Hotel.
I don't think that was my mindset, though.
I think that was mine. I was
that
all on
my
the
mindset. Yeah, I didn't think the event would. I don't think I went in really even thinking if it was going to fail or succeed. I just kind of went in. It wasn't.
Well, you said something. You said if I can impact one or two.
Yeah, I didn't. I never went in with that mindset, setting myself a failure. I went in with the mindset like, if I get 1, great. If I get 20, great. 30, awesome.
And you almost have to say that.
Yeah, but I never went into, hopefully I fail. I went in with like, I get 1, that sounds good.
But you see what happens is that I wasn't like, that wasn't my plan. Like
Yeah.
I come from the background of real estate, right?
Right. Yes.
I had no business in my mind putting an event of a mastermind. No business. I didn't have a podcast. I didn't have a funnel. I didn't have a video. I didn't have anything. It was just
something in your
an
heart.
idea. It was an idea. It was something that came to me. So at that moment, because I wanted to give it a try and said I tried it, it didn't work. I'm gonna go back to being the guy that I was supposed to be, because at that moment I was trying to break through.
Yeah, you're trying to
break through. Like, see,
Find
I'm in the business of real estate. What else can I do? And I remember Vivian and I, you and I were talking about it. The
I
second
don't
day,
remember. What was it about?
and we missed Alejandro's birthday.
Oh, that's right, because it was December 16th. And how, like, we're really asking ourselves, like, is this really the place that we need to be? Or are we just even giving, like, the wrong idea to our family what we should do? Do we leave everything behind for what?
You see, and that's the guilt, right? Man, like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What am I doing? What am I doing here in Vegas, pretending that I know what I'm doing? What am I doing leaving my kids? It's his birthday. What am I doing breaking out of my box?
Yeah, because you do want to be forced into that because it's comfortable, right? Comfortable for so long. It's like when we do step out, even though it's one of those things where we're putting it all on the line, and there's a lot of embarrassment that can come from that if we don't make it. I think that was a thought that at least I had, because I was managing a lot of the behind the scenes aspect of her event. And we had an advantage because we already had the funnels, we had the podcast, we had all these other factors, but it really comes down to, can you keep going even though you're feeling those immense pressure of, is it going to function or not?
So let me ask you something. I mean, because Carla, you just put an event together recently, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When was that moment that you decided, I'm going to do something beyond what people expect me to do?
Probably a year ago.
Yeah. And it took us
Probably longer than that.
Yeah.
Probably about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I knew I was wanting to do the event about 2 years ago. I just didn't know how to go about putting it all together. So we kind of went in as, okay, you do the back end and I'll be obviously the face of it all, because it's going to be my, all
your baby.
my experiences in my life out there. Because when you expose that much of yourself, because I've been telling my story for years already. And so now it's like, okay, I'm going to throw this event and I'm going to just repeat everything that I've been doing on stage. So when my feet hit the floor, I was like, oh, this is natural. So I just prepared. The preparation behind it was, I didn't have that, which that's where he came in.
Yeah.
So he was the back end and I was the face of it all.
But was he pushing you to do it? Or
No.
were you like, I would need to do it?
I need to do it.
Yeah, she was really
I
pushing
need to
that. For me, I think I hesitated it a little bit, or I kind of put the brakes on it just because I was like, okay, well, how are we going to go about it? Because I'm that guy where
he had the mindset that you had.
Yeah.
And I had a completely different mindset. I think
women are like that.
Yeah.
He had the
Yeah.
mindset that you went in, what you just said earlier, and I was more just like, I just need one.
Yeah.
So yeah, men and women are completely two different. Obviously, our process, the way we think is completely different. Me was just like, get me there. And then so more staff was hired on, more equipment was, so many things went into play before the event. I stayed out of that and I just mentally prepared myself. And by mentally, we put more emotion into it than men do, obviously. And you completely can say something different. But me emotionally, I mentally had to prepare myself to understand that, okay, I've been doing this for a very long time, pouring my feelings out there, my life, my past, my present, and how I deal with my anxiety, my depression, and so on and so forth. Now I'm going to put it in a book, and now I'm going to go live with it, kind of deal. Now on stage, not so much live. I've always been going live on it. I just didn't know what I was going to teach. At the end of the day, I wasn't going to teach anything. I was just going to be in perspective in my whole life. So mentally, I had to prepare myself because I was going to walk away after the 2-day event with so much of my own past and how I deal with it on top of everybody else's. So
that's the hard part, the breakthrough.
That
right?
was the hardest part for me.
I think that one of the things that I want the listeners to understand is that what I see that you guys represent and what we've been able to do as well is breaking out of the shell of who people think we should be. Because you guys have a similar background that Vivian and I have. Like we have a real estate background, right? And a real estate background, you're not supposed to put events like this. You're not supposed to talk about your feelings. You're not supposed to talk about your marriage. You're not supposed to talk about what you're going through. You're supposed to just sell real estate. You're supposed to do your business. You're supposed to do certain things. So now in the day and age where business is no longer a box, like business represents your life. And breaking through that, I remember Vivian and I, we used to have huge fights because, she didn't want us stuff out there.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of risk, and exactly that, because especially in our industry, it's a big facade oftentimes, right? It's about posturing and about, just looking at the numbers and acting a certain way to attract your clientele base. So to try to break into any depth into that is hard. There's a lot of people that are not going to accept it, especially in our industry. But it does take a lot of courage to say, hey, like, I'm going to put my life out there. And these are people within our industry, our colleagues,
well, I think
our employees.
In the beginning, we did lose, when AZ and I went into it, we did lose a lot of people around us who would say, hey, we're part of the circle, we're your friends, we're here, we're there. You can see a lot of them just kind of went, disappeared.
Because
and
then when they
AZ
see the
and
truth,
I stayed here, and our circle got smaller and smaller. But what's kind of awesome about that is, as our circle got smaller, it started growing over time with people who did want to be part of our lives. So then our brokerage kind of doubled. In a sense, it wasn't doubling, and it doubled as soon as we went out there. And we had a lot of negative, because we had a lot of people coming in. What do? You're coaches now.
Are you a coach now? Or I thought you were an agent.
Which one are you?
So and our response was never an ugly reply. It was just like, keep watching us. It's really where we've been at. Just keep watching us.
And to be honest with you, when people started asking me, like, after the first event, or what do you do? I'm like, I'm still trying to figure it out. After the first event, I'm still like, what do you do, Raul? What do you do? And I was like, man, as we evolve as businessmen, we have to adapt to the change. And I don't know if you remember, Izzy, you were at the first event.
Yes.
What happened the second day when I came into the stage? Like, do you remember, like, what?
Was that when you did an offer?
When I came in and I started just telling the truth about like how I created this image of the Latin Tony Robbins at the beginning, because that was, in my mind, that's what I had to deliver, the Latin Tony Robbins. And when people saw me, like, hey, you're the Latin Tony Robbins, I used to feel proud. Oh yeah, you're the Latin Tony Robbins, until it wasn't me anymore.
It wasn't you.
Until it started getting under my skin, like, fuck, man, I don't want to be the fucking Latin Tony Robbins. I want to be the original Raul. But it didn't take 10 years. It didn't take 2 years. It took one fucking day.
Yes.
And the next fucking day, I couldn't get on that stage unless I told the fucking truth.
Yeah. And I just remember that, I remember that hesitation. And I think I was seeing it from an outside perspective, you kind of fighting within yourself of where you're going to fight.
It was a huge battle. I remember you going into the bathroom and even like, having that anxiety, and I think you even cried because it was like,
because I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I just want to
what
be.
Is this?
I just want to pretend.
And continue to be the person that people know that you are,
and feel the expectations of others, as opposed to be who I really want to be.
Yeah, and you did everything and you go back to this, and you did everything to try to not find that. I think, and again, it's a subconscious type of obstacle you want to put in front of you, because you had different speakers, right? You had a lot of speakers on there, and you almost wanted to kind of fade into that oblivion, into just another speaker.
Right. I remember that.
And it was your event. And I remember that kind of changed the tone on the second day, because it was very
I was hiding the first event that I put in. I was trying to find, like your book says, find your voice, right? Finding my voice in the first event. But guess what? The moment I found my voice, the second event, I went to hide from my voice. So that's what I had, a whole bunch of speakers. I remember Vivian like pulled me like, what are we doing, Raul? What are we really doing?
So you didn't go in solo. You had speakers set.
No. I hid completely. I had like 20 plus speakers.
And that was one of the things when I first started the women event a year and a half ago, or almost 2 years. I planned it and tried to pull some women in and say, hey, do it with me, because the reality is I've got the repetition of being out there and throwing my life out there. So I just was scared, because I'm actually going to do an event, and I knew that I was going to go home and feel the ugliness of it all, to take all my life with me that I've just exposed.
Because you relive all those moments, right? Every time you're out there and doing breakthrough.
So I thought, if I go in with 5 women, I only have to put 10% of me in and let everybody else talk. So to hold the event solo by myself from the beginning for 2 days was exactly that. It's a lot of courage and a lot of work. So exactly what you just said. I at the beginning, I wasn't going to go all in, because I was like, I don't need to go all in. I can just go in 10% and be okay and involve, the amount of women to speak. But Yeah.
Yeah, because we tried this and she was already getting people around, and there was going to be around 10 people.
Yeah.
10 speakers.
Yeah.
And then something just switched with her. And it has to do with the reps, you know, just being out there. And the more she exposed herself on our podcast, the more she was just out there and really just finding her voice and fine tuning that voice and being more conscious about all the lessons that she got. It was like, I have to do this alone. And it was a lot of what I saw you going through with all the prayer. And she has a connection with God that I know it's a sin, but I'm jealous of, you know. I'm jealous of because the way she's able to connect and have her own relationship with him, it's just unbelievable. And it's just a conversation that she'll have, and she'll know exactly what to do. Yeah. And even with this event, we gave her space. Like we had, you know, all the back end stuff, people moving up and down and on the stage and setting things up, and she's in her own corner and she's in this deep prayer, and she knew exactly. As soon as she got up, she's like, okay,
I'm ready.
I know exactly what to do.
So let's take the listeners back.
That's like a deep connection that we all have. Yeah. Like women, we have like this direct connection with God. It's
intuitive. It's just a different. And for me to try to comprehend that, I don't. I just appreciate it, you know. Yeah. And that was, I think, what brought a lot of burden within our relationship was I was always trying to just understand when I just have to appreciate. I just have to step back and just appreciate.
And then give her space, because that's the important part. Like, you know, for you to prepare for something like that, it's like I think also, you know, like you've done a lot of work. Like you guys say, like do the work, and that's what a lot of people sometimes don't see. They they think like, oh, you got on stage, you spoke your truth. She has no fear. She could speak and she could say all these things, but it's like you have no idea, like the whole transition, the whole process that's taking for you to speak.
And that was, you know, you said that the event was about that. I didn't go in teaching. I went in showing what I did. Yeah. I went in kind of bringing in my life story as to these are the steps I took.
Yeah.
It wasn't going in there and saying, hey, these are the steps you need to take. I went in there saying, hey, these are the steps I took.
Yeah.
And that event, there are some things that I said at that event with the women that were there that many have not heard. And it's probably one or two things that he hasn't even heard.
I was just sitting back and I was like,
in the back, like you just said something. So the connection that him and I have, it took a long time to get to that point as well, because he didn't know about my life until like 5 years ago. Yeah. And he's still learning things about me to this day. Yeah.
It's funny, like you say, you've been twinning together. We've been.
But do
15.
you know when he learns about me, when he catches something he doesn't know on live video or on a podcast?
That's where he catches it.
Yeah, I never.
Like
I don't like to tell him.
Like,
I don't like to tell him.
That's your therapy.
I don't. And really, so that is our therapy. That's my therapy. I don't like to tell him in a pillow talk or hey, I really need to talk to you. I don't like to tell him that way. I like to tell him in a podcast, live video, or when I was on stage.
That's awesome.
And I also, there's other formats. But I'm the person that needs to throw myself out there and deal with it versus going and beating around the corner and be like, okay, I'm just going to tell you, but don't tell anybody else. Yeah. Because that's not who I was that person. I'm not that person today.
So that's why let's take the listeners back, because I think that is important for them to understand that, you know, how you get to this level of commitment. Because I'll tell you from my experience, from that day, 5 years, to almost to the date that we were in Vegas, that was a turning point for me. And also turning point for Vivian and I in our relationship.
Yeah, definitely.
Because at that moment, Vivian and I were like, okay, we have to make a decision. If we do this, it has to be for real.
We can't hide. There's nothing to hide.
And then she had to be okay with it, because, you know, from my perspective, like I want to shield her, because I'm okay exposing my truth. I'm okay, you know, exposing the shit that I've been through. But am I okay exposing her? And that's hard, and that's the hardest thing for us to kind of go back. And I want the listeners to understand is, how do you get your husband or your wife to get on board to do that? Because at the beginning, she wasn't like, fuck you, Raul. Like, I don't want to be in your next level. You do your thing. Yeah.
You were a little too.
I don't know. I think I know when you guys met and he came back.
We went. Well, I met him.
When was the time?
I met him at a REO conference.
That was like almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, that was like 2012.
No, that wasn't that time. It's time when you had your event where AZ was kind of looking for the, you know, the motivation and all that. I remember him coming back. I don't know what moment it was, but I remember him coming back and trying to take live videos of our family. And then he would always want to take videos of me. And I just remember being so aggressive, like, you know, get the fuck away from me. And just being
You better not put this on camera. Like,
you better not put this on camera. Like, just very mean and rude and just very condescending and just ugly. very hateful and jealous. And jealous I used because I was jealous that he was putting himself out there and I couldn't do that. So I was jealous of my own friend. I was hateful of him, and the more he was growing and changing, the more I was hating him, and the more I became more jealous of him. And I'm in this relationship. So he was getting that ugly part of me because at that time he didn't know me. We were married. I've known each other for years since we were teenagers, but he actually didn't know me.
I didn't know she's like suffering from high anxiety. I didn't know
didn't know all the ugly parts.
He didn't know my depression. He didn't know my anxiety.
As men, I think we just say this. It's real easy just to say, oh, she's a little crazy. She's nuts. She's like out of control.
He didn't know the moments when he was out of town and I had the gun in the bathroom with me. He didn't know all those things that were going through me. He didn't know the battle I was fighting through, just me and God. Like, he didn't know any of that. He just knew Carla. And so there was a moment when he started to change. I was like, okay, I'm going to pull him back, and I'm going to do whatever I can to pull him back.
How dare he?
I'm going to make sure people like Raul and other men that try to motivate him do not go in his life, and I'm going to try to make sure they are going to be wanting to stay away from him through his crazy wife. So it's as funny as that sounds, right? But at the moment, it just was an ugly part of me that I didn't want to share with him or anyone else for that matter. So he was just, and you know what made it consistent is he was consistent.
Yeah.
He told me one day in the kitchen, I don't know how it turned ugly, and I had said, I want a divorce and I don't want to be around you and I hate you. And he's just like, hey, I'm going to tell you what. And we're night and day. We're two completely different people. I'm the crazy and all over the place and dysfunctional. And am I that today? No, I'm not. But this was me back then. And he's very calm and collected. And he listens to me. And as ugly as this sounds, I'm going to tell you what he did. And I know many men are against this. And I don't highly recommend you doing this. I was in the kitchen and I'm just like, blah, going with ammo. And he's holding his phone up like this over the counter. And he's videotaping me the whole time. And I'm cooking chicken.
Remember, she does not recommend this because it didn't go well for us. It didn't go well for us, but anyway.
And I'm cooking chicken. And I have this big knife. And as he's videotaping me, and I'm like, I want a divorce and I'm like swinging this knife around. And he's just like this, right? And I didn't know what he was doing. I think a day goes by and he told me, I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to do what I need to do because I'm living for my children, myself, and my happiness. And he's just talking about him. And I'm thinking, you selfish jerk. And then I go in my closet and of course I have my moment. And then he comes out and he says, I have something to show you. And I'm like, okay. And I can't remember the detail behind it or when or how. And he showed me the video. And I couldn't believe
the person there.
That person in that video. I couldn't believe that was me. I couldn't believe my facial expressions, the ugliness. I mean, who wouldn't be scared?
Yeah.
And me swinging the knife did not help.
Yeah.
And when I get upset, I have a vein that pops out of my neck. I have a vein that pops out of here.
Yeah.
That regardless if I'm a woman and small and he's probably bigger, I probably would have kicked his ass. Because the anger that I had in me was so ugly that no one and nothing could stop me. All I wanted to do is hurt him because he was so selfish that he was moving forward and he was leaving me behind.
There's such a place of fear.
Right.
Of staying behind. And that's, I mean, you say that story and it's like you're telling my story with, a couple of versions here and there. But I think like that story, when we tell a story like that, like from an authentic place, that you could touch so many people, because I feel everything that you said is like, I've been there. But if it wasn't for AZ, if it wasn't for Raul, if it wasn't for the men that are out there doing what they continue to do and not apologize for growth, not apologize for purpose.
And that's exactly it, Raul. It's like the consistency. How do you get the reason she rose up is because she saw the consistency in you.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like, the reason why a lot of women don't write, like, she couldn't show me her true nature, her true force, her true energy. She was using it, I guess we can use that in a dysfunctional manner, right? Where all this pent up aggression would just be lashed out. But she couldn't show me her true nature because at the end of the day, I wasn't man enough to handle that type of
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when he would approach me, when I would approach him at the beginning of our relationship, and I would try to hint to him and try to connect with him.
Yeah, tell me stories about
and
the
I would
past
tell
or whatever.
him, and he was so disconnected from me that
it's not a safe place for you to.
it just
share
wasn't.
that.
He just didn't
Exactly.
make me feel comfortable. And I've
Yeah.
talked to so many women this way. Like, there's a disconnection between my husband. I
Yeah.
cannot talk to him. He's very cuddling and understanding and compassionate, but there's something there that's missing, and it's really hard to explain to you men what that is. Only a woman can relate to that disconnection. And that was something with AZ. So I would tell AZ a story or a past or a memory or something that would trigger, and he would just kind of look at me with like this face, and I'm like, say something, you know, like say something. I'm feeling just dumb and like, I don't know what I'm feeling. So say something to me. And there was something there in his eyes and his demeanor and his attitude and his personality that was something missing. So when he started going through everything, and he said now he would grab my hands and he would say, talk to me, listen to me, I would be like, you know, like.
Yeah.
And that's what, you know,
So
when
it was just
like,
really
you have to
now?
hold the space
Really?
for your woman.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are you talking about holding the space? Like, just, it's not about you. No. It's not about you, because we take a lot of this personal. Like, you know, I'll tell you from my experience, every time Vivian acted crazy, in my mind, I was like, what's wrong with me? That there's something that I'm doing for her.
But you say that now.
Yeah.
But you didn't say that
No.
before.
No,
because-
I'm saying before, your
Okay.
craziness made me feel like it was something wrong with me. So I was afraid.
I thought it was something wrong with her.
That's a nice way to say it.
but here's the thing, right? As we were growing up, I was very insecure in our relationship from the beginning. Like in teenagers, you know, we were dating. Like we
got together really long.
constantly
So young.
fighting, right? So obviously,
Possessive.
as the possessive
Yes.
Love
Latin,
it,
you know,
Yeah.
nature
That's what
that
it
we
is.
have is like, okay, shit. If she's crazy, then I'm gonna make sure that she doesn't go anywhere. I'm gonna make sure that I, you know, like is that is
Not- and you
is
know,
that trying to control, like it's impossible to control the craziness, but then
So
again,
wait, you mean that when you were trying to control?
My craziness.
I'm trying
feelings.
to fix her things. I'm trying to fix her craziness, but the reality
and
is there was nothing that we could do.
And AZ was never trying to fix anything.
But I think
AZ never tried to fix. AZ tried to ignore it.
Yeah.
AZ tried to act like there was nothing there. He didn't try to fix me, not at all. He was never there. He was never home. He was gone half the time. But even when I talked to him, he was never fixing it. He was just like, shut up. I don't want to hear your problems. Just
So is
shut
that
up.
better?
But I was going to say that. It wasn't any better because he's trying to fix something that I'm like, I didn't ask you to fix it. I'm just telling you because I need to voice it out.
Yeah.
I need to get it out of me.
Oh, he was there. He was there at one point too, trying to fix my problems. But that was okay. So when he discovered everything about me, from my anxiety to my depression, my suicidal, he discovered all that, right? Thereafter, we went through a stage where he tried to fix it. So I'm like, you can't fix me. But I think at that point I was already becoming powerful. And I was just like, I'm telling everybody about my life. So I did, and I went in powerful. And I think in a sense he tried to, wait a minute, I want to be part of that powerful because she's going to leave me now. So, and I think now AZ try to fix things, and I'm like, you can't fix me. You can't fix a woman. Leave us alone. If I'm going to leave you, I'm going to leave you. That's going to be my decision. Because when I decided to power up and take my life back, at that moment, I was like, after I'm done figuring out what I want, I'll decide if I want you. Because it's not about you anymore. And so that's kind of where we were at that point of our marriage. We went through so many steps in our marriage. I can't even tell you.
I'm telling you right now.
And it's still not done.
Like
Yeah, and we're still not done.
And I think that the first step that we go through is like, let me try to fix you, right?
Yeah.
And then after we realize that we can't fix shit, so let me try to leave you alone.
Yeah.
And let me try to figure it out to see if you're gonna fix yourself. And the other step, which is the step that most men go afterwards, is like, okay, now I need you. Now I need you to be with me. And one of the things that Vivian and I talk about, like, I don't need Vivian. I want her. She doesn't need me. She wants. So once you get to the level of like you want each other, but you have to work on you. Like one of the things that you did is you start working on you.
Yeah.
And then you start working on you.
Yeah.
And then part of like my experience is that I wanted to push Vivian and said, you gotta start working on you, babe. Come on. And then that shit backfired like crazy because like,
it backfired on him too.
Don't tell me.
Yeah.
Like I need to
But it backfired on him too. But the only reason why it backfired on him is because I was at that point where like, now you want to help me. Now you want to come in my life. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Like I don't want nothing to do with you. And you better hope that I want you after I work on me. You better hope that I want you, because at this point I don't even want you. And we were sleeping in 2 completely different beds. And we were just talking about this the other day. We would sleep with 2 different sheets in the bed if we did sleep in the same bed. Yeah. We were so disconnected because, and it wasn't him. It was just, I was so angry with him even when I was working on myself, even when I started figuring myself out.
Yeah, because I think she was, at first she was trying to project it on me like, you're the reason why I feel broken type of thing, right? And then I think she learned to realize that she was more angry at herself for allowing herself to be treated that way. And you know, for a long time, I felt guilty for treating, like you said, sometimes borderline possessive, and I think a lot of relationships are like that, where we expect, or a lot of marriages, the woman has to ask the man for permission, or in some cases, vice versa, on purchases, on what they're going to do, where they're going, and so for Carla, I think a lot of her anger came because at first I was a target, but as I kept constant on growing myself, and it came to a point where I said, hey, listen, I already told you what I want. I want you in my life, and I'm choosing in this relationship. If you don't, then you know where to go, but I am man enough to handle you. And I remember just that those words kind of resonated with her when I said, I am man enough to handle it, and knowing that I wasn't going to walk away just because she would show me a very intense part of her.
Yeah, I think I even went in and be like, I get it, but now I have to figure out if I want you.
Yeah, and that's okay. But the thing is, like, she also knew that I could handle that type of situation, whatever she wanted, you know. And it allowed us a lot of growth in that aspect because I kept on trying to just work on my past, what I wanted, which allowed her the same opportunities to do so. And you know, we did choose into the relationship, and we actually had a conversation because it was separate beds, and if we did sleep, it was separate sheets, and it was like, okay, do we really want in? And if we do, it's going to be under different terms, which is we're going to end the old relationship and start a brand new one moving forward. And having that conscious decision of saying, hey, listen, we can't bring up the past every time. I screwed up a lot. I messed up. The way I treated you was not the right way.
Yeah, there was, I think when we called it, we went to Las Vegas, our yearly trip that we go for Memorial or Labor Day?
Labor Day, yeah.
And there was a point in my life where I just stopped drinking. I just stopped drinking in general. And AZ was constantly, we've spoke about this. He drank a lot, and he just wasn't present. So there were just moments that would just trigger me, and that would come up. And then so this year, not this year, with the 5 years ago, whatever, 5 years, a couple of years back, we ended up taking our yearly trip, and. Well, for example, I'm going to bring up something right now that he doesn't even know about.
All right.
Brace yourselves.
Just right now. So AZ, I stopped drinking, and I would watch him constantly drink and get drunk and go out to happy hour and do his thing. And then during this time of the whole meditation and kind of working on himself and just being at peace, we ended up going to Las Vegas that year. And I remember packing up, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to drink this weekend. I'm going to go in. I'm going to have a good time. I don't want to remember anything. I'm going to get drunk, you know. And he was just kind of listening, like, what's wrong with her? And I couldn't tell. He was a little like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, so don't even get in my way. We're going to have a good time. And AZ's like, I don't feel like drinking. Normally we get on the plane, and we're already taking shots before we get on the plane, and we get on the plane and drink some more. So I was at the bar. I took a shot. I drank on the plane. He did not. He took out his journal. He started writing. So, but before it was switched around, right?
Where she would bust out the journal.
I would bust out the journal.
And I would be the one drinking.
Right. So on this Vegas trip, I was like, I subconsciously kind of went in like in a hateful way. So then we turned it, and I was drunk by the time I got off the flight, and where he was just like still journaling and meditating, and I was just picking at him. And you don't know this, so I'm gonna tell you this right now. So we get to the room, and I take another shot. I open up vodka that's in a little fridge, you know.
It's all out of spite, just like because that was
So I was drunk, and I'm like, I remember getting ready into something cute, and he's just like, okay, like, and I'm like, you are so boring. I'm like, you are fucking boring. So I'm over here half drunk. I probably look like trash. Thinking I look all cute. Thinking I look all cute. Yeah, like boring. Thinking I look all cute. And I was like, you are so boring. I don't even know why we came out here. And he's very, very calm and collected. And I was like, you're just ruining this whole vacation. Why do you even come out here? So we went out. We didn't talk. We sat at dinner very uncomfortable. Then we went back to the room. We went to bed. Then the next day I woke up drinking Bloody Marys. And I think we went down to the pool. We got in an argument. And I kept just talking trash to him. Like, you're boring. I don't know why you're here. Go home. Blah, 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 blah. And he's just ordering water. And I'm ordering shot after shot. Then later on, we pack our stuff because we're like, hey, let's just go home. Yeah. He said, I don't want to be around you. I said, fuck, I don't want to be around you since the day we left. That's how mean I was.
Wow. And
he's just like, what? Yeah. So I remember coming out of the bathroom before we were packing up our stuff. I asked him, I said, what are you doing? He goes, I'm packing up. I'm going home. And I'm like, good, get out of here. And he goes, I bought us. I'm like, I'm not flying home with you. As a matter of fact, when I get home with you, I don't even want to be around you. And he's just like, what? And exactly how you see him is how he was sitting.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on right now?
Yeah, what's going on inside that head? Like, I can't figure it out.
So he's on the side of and he's like this on the bed, right? And he said, I don't know how we ended up saying, let's go get some coffee. So we go down to the hotel. We sit at the coffee shop.
At what hotel was that? Was that the Encore? It was
at
the
Encore. We sit at the coffee shop, and I'm sitting across from him, very hateful, very just like this. And then I was like, this is like the last trip I want to take with you. Like, we are so disconnected. I came to have a good time, and this is what you're doing, just sitting there, you know? So I'm like, this is what you've come to, like this boring person right here.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I don't feel like drinking. I wanted to connect with you. I'm like, who the hell connects with someone in Las Vegas, you know? And he's just like, this is our last trip to Vegas. We shouldn't be taking these anymore. I'm like,
even worse.
Yeah, even worse, because he's just, what do you want to do? Go and connect with me? Like, why now, you know? Yeah. So we ended up flying home. And we were going to go a place that makes us very happy. And we were going to go to some part of California that makes us, I don't know, we were at peace. And he's like, I don't want to go there with you. I want to go home, and I don't want to go on the same flight with you. So we go to the airport, and he ends up buying a ticket, right? Our tickets, but he bought them for the following week. So we happened to miss our flight. We go to every single airline. They're all booked. We go to the rental car, and they're like, we're booked, but we have like a couple of cars left for you, and they're pretty beat up kind of deal. So the car we rented was hilarious.
Yeah, it was like a older, like Nissan.
Older Nissan drove only like 30 miles an hour, right? It's seriously like God was saying, hey, you guys have to work this out
before you get to your other.
So we ended up getting a rental car.
An hour flight, it would have just ballooned into
We ended up getting in the rental car. We drove 2 hours, and the whole time I'm like, I can drive. You don't need to drive. I can drive. So I'm just like, you know, I'm like, all of a sudden the male gets in the driver's side. I'm just talking shit, and he's just like very calm.
So much anger in there.
He's just calm. He's just calm and collected. And as 2 hours in, he's just like, pulls over, and he's like, hey, what are we going to do? Like, I don't want to go home like this. So that's when we decided, I'm like, I don't like you, but it's because I don't like myself. Like, who you are today, I can't accept you like that. You know, he's like, well, I'm going to tell you what, this is me and this is you. If we would meet right now, would you still be in love with me, with the person you meet today, like right now? And I'm like, romantic, cuddling, you know, just more self-aware, loving, caring, compassion. That's who I saw in front of me, but that's not who I got. Patient, everything you can think of. I was like, yeah, I would. You know, you're my best friend. And then he said, and then he starts telling me all these good things about me. And I'm like, there's a lot you don't know about me. He's like, I'm okay. I'm okay. Let's, you know.
Working through it, yeah. Like, he's okay with knowing that part of you.
And so it's like, it's not, so he pushed me to do these live videos and go live and just, he pushed me. So, and it was just so much there in that car. It was insane that we reconnected and we hugged and we were like, let's get married again. Let's rekindle our relationship from who we are now.
In Las Vegas.
Yeah, and what was going on?
And he told me something very deep that day too. Yeah. And I was like, I'm so sorry you held on to that for so long. Yeah. No, I'm not saying that's not my place. And So that wasn't even the subject, right? We weren't even, I'm like, I don't even care about that. Because that was old you. Right now, you wouldn't do something like that.
So it was like
and
the
it was
last...
it was like...
The last hoorah.
Yes,
and here's the
right
thing.
there.
It was because at that moment, she was forced to grow because I was her enabler before.
Yeah.
When she would go through these... panic attacks or whatever. I was her enabler. It's gonna be okay. So, and when she would get into these things, I didn't react that way anymore. So it was like her last, I guess, fight to try to bring me back to who I was, because of all that growth. And then after that, it was just like like the skies opened up for us, where now she was on the same page. We were both on the same page at that point.
Yeah, it takes all of that. It takes all that. It does. All that.
There's a lot of resistance, because you knew him a certain way, and all of a sudden he's telling you to do the things he's doing just because he got a wild hair up his, what?
Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are to tell me to
It was
do?
like I was like a toddler. I was like a little kid. I threw adult tantrums. Because he would want to do things and I would throw an adult tantrum. He would want to go and connect with people, and I would go in his closet and I would dump all his clothes out and be like, you're not going anywhere. It was bad. I don't think you guys know how bad it was. And he's exactly how you see him, that's him. And I'm like,
but one of the things I think like men, we don't pay the price enough to see that beauty. Because I see right now, I'm sitting in front of you, I'm just captivated about the feminine energy. Like the feminine energy that you exude right now, like that is the ultimate version that a woman wants us to see, that feminine energy that's wild, that's crazy, that is not dysfunctional, is actually given us the permission for us to hold the space, to become,
because it's all part of us.
Talk with Vivian all the time, we need to become the vessel, not the container, not the garbage can. Before, you were throwing up all over him. You were throwing up and he was the garbage can. But once he became the vessel, once he was strong enough to become the vessel, he's like, I'm not going nowhere. You could be this crazy wild storm. I'm not going nowhere. And that's
like she wanted me to say no, like I stop here. Like she didn't. It was like I remember talking to like my coaches and mentors during that time, and I felt like she was trying to like really just sabotage the relationship and wanted divorce, wanted out, because even though things were dysfunctional, we always figured out a way. But things just got darker as I started becoming more aware. And started appreciating her more. It like triggered an aspect of her to say, why weren't you treating me like this the entire time we met? Why aren't you showing me this appreciation? Now you want to start doing this kind of stuff? So I can see where it was all built up. But back then I had no idea. I was like, oh, maybe she just doesn't want this relationship. She was just angry of why didn't I show up this way as a man
before?
And I was also angry, why didn't I show up this way as a woman? So I am very outspoken and loud and just like I will voice my opinion. I'm just like blah,
And before, like in this relationship, I'd probably do this a couple times.
Or he would kick me. Right now, I can tell you 100 things he probably didn't like what I said, but
now you're okay with it.
And I'm okay with it.
And he has to accept me. But he would probably had kicked me under the table multiple times, and it would be like okay. And so one time, I remember a couple of years back. This was way before we were working on each other. I remember when you continue to hold me back because you have no idea when you're not around, these are the things I say.
Oh, okay.
And when you're around, you control me. I'm a different person. You don't know who I am. And then he's just like, what? He didn't know what that meant. And I'm like, I don't think you understand. Like, I am this person in front of you, and I'm this person in front of people who do know me, and I'm very comfortable with them to some extent. But I'm loud and I'm all over the place and I voice my opinion and I'm not afraid, but he makes me afraid and he makes me shut down.
It's that box Raul, that we were talking about. Like, we want a beautiful wife. Go ahead and sit there, look pretty, talk when, say something, and for her, like I wasn't prepared to receive all that energy, like this power that she truly has, because I wasn't capable of doing it.
You couldn't contain it. You couldn't contain it. You were the garbage can. You were not the container then.
And when people ask me, how did you get here? Like, I'm like, I've always been that person. I just lost who I was. I just
permission to do it.
Exactly.
Now you remember.
So now, like all this is happening, and that's what I want. People who listen to this and watch this is understand that these guys are not just regular individuals. Like you have a company. You have people that they're responsible for. You have people that depend on your leadership. So imagine you going through all this storm, and you still have business to take care of. So how did that impact your business?
It was rough, and I think our growth today is the byproduct of who we are today, right? But it was unstable, just like our relationship was for a while. But to show face and to work, like we work with each other on both of our companies,
I think at the beginning people didn't know when
what was happening.
AZ and I had something very unique, very unique. We knew how to hide our relationship. We knew.
You're the business.
Oh, you would have never,
aspect.
never seen us in public without me not hugging and cuddling him and kissing him and being all over him when we weren't even getting along.
You still do it to pretend.
My role was to protect our image. That was my role.
But that's what in business. That's probably the role that most people are in.
And it was in our business, and it was in our personal lives.
I was gonna say that
we were. It was in all aspects of our lives. My role was to protect our image. So my role was like always constantly here, and every photo you see us in the past is here, me cuddling, kissing him. There was a reason and a purpose behind that. It was to protect our image because we were just, I don't know. I kind of knew that place like that. I don't know. It was really insane. Or when he would kick me, I'd be like, oh, okay, now I'm talking too loud, so I better shut. And then I would kind of just and smile. You know, there was so many. I became immune to it. It was
you were playing a role. You were playing a role.
I was
playing
a role. He trained me well. He trained me well. We may, so let's not talk about it.
So then what happened when you decided to play your own role? What happened when you decided to play your own role?
When we decided to play our own role, we bumped heads. We were actually, that's when we were going to get a divorce because no longer was I going to play that role. So it was just like, okay, now we need to figure out what we're going to do with the business and the kids and the houses and all this stuff because we were like, we're going to get a divorce. One thing about AZ and I, we didn't fight about money. We actually fought who was going to keep everything. We fought, I don't want anything. I don't want anything. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's give it to someone. We went to that extent and then have my brother-in-law figure out how it works and who distributes it. I mean, it was crazy because neither of us wanted anything. We just wanted a divorce. We just wanted to start from fresh. Yeah. We wanted out. We wanted fresh. We didn't want
any ties.
We don't want any ties. We don't want any arguments in court. We don't want any of that. So him and I know divorces are like who gets what. We were the opposite. We were like, I'm like, hey, we both wanted to start fresh. But I got to tell you, when we both came out, our business started to suffer even more because our business was okay because we played the role so well. So now my ideas wanted to come into play. Yeah. He wanted to continue taking over and hugging everything and being in control. And that didn't work for me anymore. I did not want to do that. I didn't like the way you ran things. I didn't like the way you did things. And we're changing things up. As a matter of fact, all our staff is fired. And the next person that says, because AZ said, you're fired. Yeah, that's how bad it was because I was just like, I will no longer have an employee come into my office and I tell them to do something and they use AZ said, you're fired.
And this is the reason why they would go to her and say AZ said, because she always played as the mute in the company. And I always had a final decision. You know, it's not that I necessarily always wanted to make those decisions. She just didn't have anything to say when it was. So employees were still stuck to that role where I was the head boss. Yeah. Not knowing that she's been running the back end of the company for years. Like that was her position.
She was doing the work.
I was just the face.
You were not showing up, but she was doing the work.
You were the voice.
Yeah, I was the voice.
Oh my God, Vivian, I remember I was pregnant. I wouldn't sleep. I was pregnant. I would run on 4 cups of coffee. Maybe that's why my children are so hyper. It was just, and AZ had no compassion for me having his kids at all. I opened the store. I was in retail. I was in heels. I was jumping out of a Hummer. I mean, I was hustling it, being pregnant, having a toddler. I mean, I would sleep 3 hours. I gave birth in heels with my laptop, and the doctor was like, what are you doing? And I cussed at every single nurse. The doctor was like, you need to control yourself. And he was embarrassed. And I'm like, because I was working. So he had no compassion for me whatsoever. I was in heels the whole entire time. I mean, I just had to show up.
On delivery day, I remember the nurse saying, like, just looking at her, like, what do you, like, why are you in heels?
Are you working or are you coming here to deliver the baby?
I remember being at the post office delivering mail and grabbing onto the kiosk, like, you know, because I was getting contractions. And some lady was like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm giving birth. Stay away from me. That's how angry, and I just had so much in me. But anyway, AZ had none of that for me. So when I started so I don't think people knew that what I did on the back end. I ran the whole business.
You were a strong, powerful woman in the back
already.
end.
Yes,
behind the curtain.
Behind the curtain. Yeah, no one knew I existed.
And listen, this is what happens in businesses. Is what happens in relationships all the time. That the guy is the front at the beginning, and the woman is the strong one in the back. And we keep them there because we're afraid.
Yes,
we're afraid of who we need to be.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. She was showing. So when she finally saw the light, like, I have been running this company. This is my company. That's when a lot of people weren't accepting that from her. So that's why she really cleaned house, like the entire staff, and it was much needed because
you went through a storm in a relationship.
Oh yeah,
then you went through a storm in the business.
Yes.
Yeah. It was.
I mean, it was definitely it was rough because I gotta tell you something else. When you are a powerful man and you come in like boss, most people attract that. So people like that. They like structure. They like, they're like, okay, we can listen to that. But when a woman comes in, it's completely different. When a woman comes in and it's like, this is what it is, and your boss, even women are scared of women. So they're just kind of like, oh shit, now wait, Carla's the boss? She's the owner?
Question
this is
like, really, is that really
so
true?
when a powerful woman comes in, we're just considered big bitches. And it's like, no, I'm not a bitch. I'm just running shit the way it should be ran. And AZ's like, doesn't even know what's going on in the back end. So I'm just now showing my face. But it was really hard. It was extremely hard. We lost a lot of people. Friendships, family especially.
Yeah.
A lot of people weren't accepting us because they were like, well, who's Carla? Why is she coming in strong? And it's like, I've always been that person. Now, I don't want to say he's supporting me. He's just staying out of my way.
Yeah, it's just
he's
like
just staying out of my way.
And that's one of the things I think that we can make in a relationship. This is just our interpretation of this is like, we hear this, we became one in a marriage. I think that's what caused a lot of problems within our marriage because we couldn't become one because she's an individual and I'm an individual. Yeah. And it's like, we're just two independent individuals coming together for common goals. Once we started looking at that, like she can say or do whatever I want. And I'm just like, appreciate it. I'm just watching her and I'm like, cool. Like that's Carla.
That's you. That's
Before
you.
I thought she was a reflection of me. No, she's Carla. I'm me. I'm a reflection of me.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that because that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
It opened up so much for us because before I was just like bothered by what she would say and how she would say, how she would express herself. Hey, and that's why I was constantly like, hey, like.
Because you would think it was a reflection of you. Yeah. But it has nothing to do with
it. It has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And I constantly was just like, it's one, we're on this. No, it's two independents coming together for common goals as opposed to being codependent or interdependent. Yeah. And at the end of the day, like I found so much appreciation when I just kind of stepped back and just appreciated myself for who I am and just simply appreciated her for who she is.
That's right. We say that all the time too.
At the same time, it just frees you up with bandwidth. I mean, like the bandwidth that you have right now to create stuff and the bandwidth that you have right now. Like I look at Vivian and the things that she does, like she doesn't have to worry about, I don't have to worry about her. She doesn't have to worry about me.
Because we're too complete. Like I feel so complete just by myself and you are complete on your own. And we get to come together. Like we choose to come together.
Yeah, choosing.
We're choosing. So
and one of the reasons that I think that we get a lot of couples who reach out to us and a lot of businessmen is like they don't understand the key. Like the relationship is a direct reflection of your business. Like there's not one or the other. It's either your relationship and your business. They all integrate. Yeah. Like your health, your kids. And we're just talking about kids and how as men we have to help our women level up to the point that they could lead the way that
because I remember, and I think a lot of guys do this not knowing. It's like, yeah, babe, whatever you want to do, that's fine. But as soon as they do something that's not within what they think they should do, it's this whole nudge thing. And every time I nudge at her, it's like, okay, am I doing something wrong? And it's like, we say we build them, but we truly don't. We like sabotage them at the same time. And oftentimes we can do this even with our kids. We had a conversation prior to this about, showing our patience as men. At the end of the day, Raul, like you and I are men and we're going to be more powerful. And when we get angry, the way we see it is going to be very different from a feminine energy or a woman, right? Or even kids. They're going to see very different because even though you're just trying to express it and you raise your voice or I raise my voice, the way I look already, I'm already, look a little aggressive.
I used to tell AZ my defense mechanism was always, because as a child, I've gone through a lot. I've gone through a lot of physical and mental abuse as a child. And mine now, I'm like fed up. And now it's just like, I don't put up with shit anymore. I mean, you stare at me wrong, you look at me wrong, you approach me incorrectly, I will.
That's probably one of the reasons why I'm like, you're just you.
I'll come at you hard. And the male's like, whoa, I just asked for your number in an incorrect, disrespectful way you did. And they're like, oh shit. I'm like, you fucked with the wrong woman. So it's crazy because now I voice that, right? Yeah. So when AZ, when he kind of comes at me a little start, I'm like, my defense mechanism is like, rah, because, and I had to bring myself down a notch to understand, wait, Carla, you're not angry anymore. You can still defend yourself without having that crazy hyena attitude.
Well, I think that craziness comes from, you know, it's fear as well, right?
Yeah.
Fight or flight. And one of the things that I noticed is like when I would like approach her or yell or get like, there's a genuine fear that happens, I think, with women when there's a man that steps up to them in a fearful and a hard or direct way. Because I remember, and this all came to me one time when I was like, I raised my voice with my daughter, and she's like, I'm scared.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine. Yeah, I'm scared.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, all I did was, I wasn't gonna hurt you, but at the end of the day, as much as I come at Carla, she at the back, there's a small segment of her, a small thought in her mind that says, this guy can snap and hurt me in a massive way.
I used to really like, don't talk to me like that. And he's like, I'm only talking to you. But I'm like, I don't think you understand how scary and the tone of voice you're using with us. Yeah. And he always thought it was against him. Yeah. I'm like, no, it's just that I'm no longer going to put up with that tone of voice and that look and that energy of yours, you know? So I'm like, rah. And so now he catches himself. And that's what I love about, this is what I love about who we are today. We haven't changed in so many ways. We're just more now self-aware of the way we speak, use our tone of voices. We don't apologize to each other. We now discuss the situation. Like, oh, you know what I did the other day? It was kind of wrong, and X, Y, and Z. And he's like, yeah, I saw that too. So we're more in this discussion now versus like, I'm sorry, I won't do it again, or I'm sorry, did I hurt your feelings? It was like, hey, I hurt your feelings because of X, Y, and Z, plain and simple. So now we talk about it, we discuss it. And so what I love about AZ is that his tone of voice now is expressed now. He went into the room. I don't know if he had called you and told you about that, the whole my daughter thing, but he went into the hotel and he was just like, I don't like the way I treated Abigail. So we'll just mention it to her. But that's not something AZ in the past would have mentioned. It was
I just forgot about it or try to overcompensate. Hey, let's go here. Let's go buy you this, that, or the other. As opposed to just talking straight to my daughters, like the same way I handled my marriage. Talk about the real issue. Don't try to ignore it or pretend it didn't happen. Same thing with my daughters. When I speak to them in a way that I know is not building them, I need to talk it out, and they need to hear that from Dad.
You know, and one of the things that Vivian and we have, that's our argument. That's number one argument that we have is how do I treat my kids without shielding them and uplifting them? Because I tell my kids, I was bullied when I was in school. There was a ghetto. There is a ghetto in Connecticut, all right? And I was right in the middle of the ghetto in Connecticut. And I was bullied since I was sixth grade. I came here to this country and I didn't know how to speak English. And the bus used to have to go through the ghetto to pick me up. And all the kids from the projects used to pick on me. I had no idea why. I didn't know the language. I didn't know why they were picking on me. But I was picked on from 6th grade until 8th grade. Until I realized, okay, I need to fight back. My son doesn't have the problem. He goes to private school. He has the mom driving him to, I'm driving him to private school. So I told him, I said, I'm going to be your biggest bully. Because you don't have any bullies at home. I want to be your biggest bully. I want to make sure, because we love you. In this house, you're the best son. You're the best kid. You're the best at everything. Outside, nobody gives a shit about you unless you bring value. So, but I'm like that with my son. With my daughter, it's a complete different energy. And that's the fight that Vivian and we have, because Vivian is the other side with my daughter. She's very tough with my daughter. I'm the opposite. I'm tough with my son. And Vivian will protect Alejandro. So that's the number one fight that we always have on how to shield the kids. So what's...
Well, I'm not shielding him, but I want you to get your point across. And I think like when you get angry and when you start talking to him like that, like just, listening to what AZ is saying, it's like you become aware of like the way that you talk, and how can you get your point across without really hurting him?
But I think, at this level of the awareness that we have, is not that we're angry, we just come as an intense, and the intensity we have to become aware.
Yeah, because you're intense. You're an intense guy when you talk.
Here's the reality: like the way he looks at you, you're like this shining star. Like that's what I realize about my daughters. Right? They see you as on top of this pedestal, like your dad. You're teaching them, you're guiding them, and now he's frowning upon them and angry at them. It's like disappointment. So it's hard. They take it 10 times, 100 times harder than what we express ourselves. Like today, by simply ignoring like my daughter, just real quick, we had her take a picture, the same picture you just sent me right now. And she says, because I told her, hey, babe, take a picture. And she has her camera. She brought her camera, so she's got this professional camera with her. So she takes a picture. She goes, "Dad, do you like it? Do you like it?" And I said, "But just take it with my phone."
You already took out the confidence.
I took her confidence away.
Yeah.
I took that energy. She's trying to impress Dad. She's trying to show you something, and I completely just took that from her.
I think on the parenting, the way we handle the kids is, I have my own way of the way I parent my kids and the way I talk to the girls, and he has his own way. We never come to, like, I saw what he did, and I never went to him and said, "Hey, what you did was wrong." I kind of let it be.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing I can do at that. It's just going to start an argument, and the kids are going to be confused, and it just turns,
in front of them, you don't.
Yeah, it's
argue.
just like whatever.
I do the same thing.
They know their dad. They caught on to it or whatever. But I already know when he takes that time to cool off, he recognizes what he did. There's no reason for me to go and tell him what he did wrong. He either recognizes or he doesn't.
Yeah.
Because in the past, we have brought each other down in the sense, like, he'll be like, "You talked to Abigail or Madeline really rude, and you said this, or you said that." He doesn't say that anymore to me or I don't say that to him either. But we will eventually bring it up in a conversation, just like he did when we got back to the room. We were getting ready, and he said, "Oh, this is what I'm like." Well, and I never said, "I saw that." I said, "Just go back and talk to her." That's it. He's like, "Yeah, I will." Because it's like, we're not parenting each other on how to parent.
Yeah.
I'm not going to parent him how to parent our kids. He's just who he is, and I am who I am. So I always tell this to my kids. Take everything you love and admire about us and, blow it up 10 times. Take everything you dislike about us and you don't want to bring that into your household. Don't use it. Remove it. Change it up. You're supposed to be like 20 times better than us as parents. We're only teaching you what we know and what's safe for you and the way we think is best for you, right? But doesn't mean that's what you think is best for you as an adult.
Yeah.
Take it and change it up.
Yep.
You need to parent way better than us.
Yeah.
But we never try to parent each other to parent our kids. It just doesn't make sense.
And I think that the thing that really changed in our relationship, my relationship with my daughters, is acknowledging that, I do mess up as a parent, that I'm not perfect as a parent.
We don't have all the answers.
Yeah, I don't have all the answers, and I'll mess up and I'll say things. But I also told her, "Hey, babe, like, don't let me hold you back either." Like, I want to constantly reinforce that with her because I saw her demeanor kind of like shrug down, her shoulders shrug down as we were going through the rest of Central Park. And so when I got to talk to her, I'm like, I know what this is the way I approach you. So I brought up this situation. I didn't mean to do it like that. I'm stuck in my own head, babe. Like, this is what I was thinking. But you cannot allow anyone, including your own parents, to hold you back, because I'm trying to learn as well. And this cannot affect your the way you feel. And I think that kind of gives her that viewpoint, like, hey, like, yeah, you're right. It's all going to be on me at some point. But just simply having those conversations, like every time you blow up with your son or come at him in a way, it's just talking about it and just being at that level. Like, when I say that, I now brought myself to her level. Like, hey, I make mistakes as well.
We're all growing. I mean, at the end of the day, like, I tell my son, like, listen, I'm not perfect. Like, I'm growing with you. You're my first son. You're my first daughter. Like, I'm trying to figure shit out as we go along myself.
I never had that conversation with my parents ever.
And that's the part. Like, with Vivian too. Like, we're growing. Like, the story continues to evolve. The story continues to take place. And we're gonna fuck up. We're gonna fuck up. We're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna make mistakes. But at the end of the day, as long as we're all in, we're in it together. We're in it to make sure that we make it happen.
My little one, I was like, keep a journal. So all the bad parenting, just make sure you put that on the nose. She's so funny. Every time I do something that's inappropriate or something that's like, Mom, that's bad parenting. Yeah, she's like, that's going to go in my journal, bad parenting. I'm like, you do that. But for me, it's good right now. Good parenting for me.
For the future.
Awesome. All right, so where do we get your book? Tell us about your book. Where is it?
Well, I don't have. We should have brought a copy of the book. Find Your Voice. We did bring you some shirts.
We'll send you a book.
We'll send you a
gear.
book.
Yeah.
Well, Alejandro sent you guys a book, so he's a good advertiser.
My book is my life. It's in there. It's a lot of certain.
Is it Amazon? Is it where is it?
No. So right now she's just giving it to her clients and the people that go to her event.
What's her website?
So we go to dothework.com and then you can apply to work with Carla. Right now she's holding just a women only.
I'll be holding one in February.
And she's
haven't got a set date, but there'll be one in February coming in. But the book it's my life, it's my experiences, it's everything that I've gone through. So you'll get to know me a little bit better. Certain situations, especially it's dedicated to my daughter. So there's a whole section about my kids and the parenting and the way my life has been through my anxiety and depression and through just my, everything that holds me back. And then a lot of my marriage, I always tell my kids, don't pick that book up until you're like 20, because you're going to think that I didn't want to have you, one, and two, I didn't want to be married to your dad. Yeah. So, and that's not the case. It's just all the frustrations and crazy life that women live, being in business and moms and, just everything that we have to do, the roles that we have to play and be in as a mom. And then in the back of the book, it kind of gives you questions that you answer that I've done for many, many years to get to the point where I am today.
So it's kind of like small, we call them, she calls them sets and reps, where certain things you're going to do every single day and certain sets and
you
reps
can do it at the end of the day, or you can kind of go and walk yourself through these questions in a moment that you're kind of fearing something or you don't want to move forward on something. And you kind of find the real reason why you are not moving forward in that decision.
I like
and that's one of the things. It's just really finding the core of the problem, because sometimes when she lashes out at me or vice versa, it's usually not because of him or
it has to do with you
something
yourself.
Else. It's something else that happened. Somebody triggered you.
I explained a really good one on the last podcast that we did regarding, because he didn't tell me I looked nice in my dress, and so I had to go back 2 weeks prior, and it had nothing to do with my dress. It had something to do with me that triggered me 2 weeks ago. So it's very much that situation. As to really telling the truth.
But you can find all that on dothework.com. Awesome. And also listen to our podcast and where we discuss a lot of this stuff. That's similar to what you guys are doing. Love watching you guys.
Yeah, we do the same.
Just amazing to have you as part of our circle. And anytime we make a trip out here, we make a note to come and see you guys. You were actually there the night she got crowned her IFBB Pro card.
I remember that. I remember that.
Yeah.
I mean, you are amazing in your fitness and your eating habits. I'm actually 3 months into my fitness, 3 months into eating clean.
Nice.
So
I remember the last time we talked, you're like, I need to have my sweets.
He's doing better.
I love my desserts.
I remember
now,
you being
I'm
there.
gonna tell you right now. A year from now, you're gonna see me. I want to be one of those competitions. I want to be one of those.
Well, I remember we were there, right? And he said, I really like. I think you had cookies there, right in front of you.
Cookies and ice cream. That's my drug. That's my drug. That's my drug.
No, but that meant a lot to us.
It really did. I can't even tell you how much it meant to us, just because you were the first faces that I saw, and it was the first time I think I've met you, right? It was that night.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, it was an awesome feeling to have somebody there.
It was a breakfast. It was a breakfast.
That we went to meet you.
But I have to tell you, even that day, I remember that night. I got off stage and I went to my room, and I remember being like, I don't want to go down there. I don't want to see anybody. And I was just shaking and going through this anxiety because I didn't know you guys. And I thought you guys were judging me and looking at me wrong.
You've been judged enough already to be in that.
I know, but I'm telling you, my anxiety was just on such a high that, and I remember AZ even fighting with me. He's like, they're my friends. You got to go down there. I'm like, why do you do this to me? And it was like, I'm not doing anything to you. They want to come out here. I was stuck in my own head. I was so insecure and so hateful on just me. It was hard to sit there and have good food with you guys, enjoy time with you guys. It was the most hardest thing. I'm going to cry right now, how hard it was, because you have no idea what it took to come out of my show and sit and eat in front of you guys. It was because it was just so... I was so nervous. I felt like you guys were literally judging me. I didn't want to go out there because I knew a lot of competitors were out there, and I didn't want to be looked at.
She shut herself down. Usually when you win your pro card, you have people interviewing you.
And you did win.
She won, but she went straight to the room.
Yeah.
Because at that moment, she didn't know how to control her anxiety.
Yeah, I did it.
She still has that same anxiety, but she controls it. She's able to awareness.
Yeah.
And before it controlled her. So we wouldn't do a lot of stuff socially. Even with our own friends going out, because there was just so much that it was riding on her, which I didn't know. I just thought she just didn't want to have friends.
And he didn't even know about me. He didn't know. That was the time he didn't know anything about me. Yeah, because he was just like, why are you so moody kind of deal, right? Why are you being so mean? They're my friends. They came out here. And I'm like, I don't know why you do this to me. But I do remember sitting there, and it took about 20 minutes to warm up. Yeah. And I was just like, and you know that feeling you get, that the vibe, the energy when I sat there with you guys, you were just so amazing. And I'm like, and then I was talking to myself, And when we were sitting there, like, and this is what's crazy about me, I can carry 2 different conversations in my head and still talk.
Yeah.
So as you guys were talking, I listened to your dessert, I listened to all these things, and in my head I was like, wow, they're so wonderful, they're so great. Why am I doing this? Why was I up in the room? Wow, okay. Oh, you like desserts? Okay. And you guys had no idea. Like in my head, I was going through my series, like battles in my brain. Like
I think we all have that. We all have that. I mean, listen, and you guys are an inspiration to us as well. Vivian and I will follow you on the podcast. Man, your friendship means a lot to me, brother.
Likewise,
I appreciate it. I love the growth. I love to see you guys. Likewise. I know this is just the beginning. I know Vivian is been inspired by everything that you guys do, and
always, yeah. I mean, even like to see you guys this time and to see you, it's like a whole different version.
Yeah.
You know, just to see you step into this power, and I know that it's a process, you know, and we're not striving for perfection. We're not perfect. We always say that. We still have all the struggles. We still have all these things that we want to go to. But it's just amazing to see you guys here and to see and to set the intention for so much more beautiful things to come. And not just for you, but like for your kids and for the people that you are empowering, the people that you are empowering. I think it's just beautiful that, you know, continue to do the work.
Thank you so much for that. And like I said, there was something about Raul. We were meant to be connected. And, you know, just a brief story here. The first time that I ever walked into one of these conferences, REO conference in real estate, he was the very first guy that I ran into that just had that energy that I was immediately drawn to him. And here we are almost 10 years later.
Decade.
Wow.
Anything. I mean, we overestimate what we could do in a year. We underestimate what we could do in a decade.
It's amazing. We're like I didn't picture any of this. Not one thing of this. And
I just imagine if you didn't pick up the phone, or I didn't have the voice of like putting an event together. And that's what I want everybody to understand. Like, you never know who's gonna be impacted by you telling your story. Exactly. You never know who you're gonna impact by you telling your truth. I know it's scary as fuck. I know sometimes we think we're crazy. I know sometimes we think like maybe I'm not supposed to lead or do this, but God always has a plan. The universe always has a plan. The voice speaks through every single one of us. Yeah. With our podcast, God, Money, and Sex, who knows, 10 years from now, what could be possible. So thank you for following us. Make sure that you like our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Follow us everywhere except for our bedroom, because that's where we keep it private.